Hey everyone, today's video is going to be different. I'm not going to be talking about books. I'm not going to be talking about authors or anything that I normally would talk about. I'm going to be talking about my life, and specifically I'm going to be talking about death and cancer and drugs and different things that have gone on with death in my life. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to talk about the reason why I actually started BookTube. So if this isn't your thing, you might want to stop now because this video is going to be a little bit heavier. I am not new to death at all. I was 15 years old whenever my brother was killed in Iraq. He was actually killed in Baghdad, and he was a chief warrant officer. He flew the Apache helicopter, and on Easter Sunday of April 2011, he was killed. Him and his partner, his name was Lawrence Shane Colton, and he was most definitely my big brother. I miss him terribly. I was 15 years old whenever he died, and like I said, it was on an Easter Sunday, so it was during that weekend, and we found out initially on the news. That morning we found out that an Apache helicopter was shot down, and we didn't even think anything of it. We went to church, moved on, and did our thing, and then I called my sister-in-law to wish her a happy Easter, and she said, "You haven't heard the news?" And that's how I found out that my big brother was killed. My whole family immediately went down, and we spent weeks in Killeen, Texas, where she was, to be able to do the funeral. And I was in 9th grade, so I missed a lot of school, and I came back, and after my brother died, people treated me differently. I was never really like the most popular kid in school, but I was never not popular either. I had plenty of friends, and I always had somebody to talk to. And after my brother died, it seemed like everybody didn't know what to say to me, and so they didn't say anything at all. And my life changed a lot after that. I went from being super outgoing and friendly and personable to being really quiet and shy and not knowing what to say and awkward. And my life really changed fundamentally in that way. So anyway, that's what happened then. Growing up, of course, you lose your grandparents, and I've lost all of mine now. But in 2013, I lost my nephew, my brother's only kid, to a heroin overdose. He was 20 years old. He's 4 years younger than me, and we look a lot alike. I'll show pictures here. He was one of my best friends in the entire world. He was a sweetheart, and he was so smart. He was a genius. Like he literally was. He at 16 years old, he was interning for IBM. He was coding and hacking into computers and doing all of that, and we were extremely close. Growing up, he lived with me for a couple of years, so he was actually raised more like my brother than my nephew, and that was really hard on me. His girlfriend and him got into heroin in college, and her mother found their bodies together, and they both died of an accidental overdose in bed. And that really changed me again. I had lost my closest relative at that time, to my age, and I went from having family and people I cared about to having nobody my age. And once again, it changed who I was as a person, and it made me even more shy and more cautious because everybody I loved was dying. So this last year, in November of 2018, my grandmother had dementia, and we were taking care of her for years, driving her to appointments, being there for her, grocery shopping. I made her bed every week for her. I mean, we literally did everything for my grandmother, my mom, my dad, and I. And she had a really rough road. She forgot who a lot of people were, but the one person she never forgot who was me. My grandmother never forgot me, not once. She knew exactly who I was, and that was super hard to deal with. And like I said, that had just happened in November of last year, and a month later, December 12th, a day before my birthday last year, my dad went to go see his brother in Lawton, Oklahoma, and he was driving and he passed out behind the wheel. We now know the reason why, but at the time we had no clue what happened. Sorry. And my dad refused to go to the doctor whenever he passed out behind the wheel. He totaled his truck. He came home, and it wasn't until the middle of January that I talked him into going to the doctor finally. And whenever I did, they found a mass on his lungs. My dad was always a smoker growing up, and his father and his brother had both died of lung cancer, so I knew it was a possibility, but I wasn't expecting it. And he found out he had stage 4 lung cancer in January. And after he found out that diagnosis, it wasn't a month later that he was in the hospital at VA. He went downhill really fast. The cancer went from his lungs to his spine and then went to his brain within a month. And he was no longer the dad that I knew. Anyway, so I knew my dad, there was something serious wrong last December, and I knew it was bad. I just didn't know how bad. And I quit reading. I completely, because to me, books were my first love. Like, if I can't have my own great romance, then I'm going to read romance. And I just completely shut down. I quit reading because I didn't want any books that I read during that time to be the reminder of the worst time of my life. My dad was my best friend. I was the ultimate daddy's girl. So I stopped reading. I didn't read from January until he passed away March 21st. And I spent an entire month in the hospital, day and night almost. If I wasn't at work, I was at the hospital with him constantly. And we would get calls in the middle of the night because when the cancer went to his brain, it changed him big time. He became aggressive and combative. And if you've never had to have somebody close to you die of cancer, it changes who they are completely. And so I didn't want to read books, but books were kind of my safe haven, and it made me happy. And so I started to listen to BookTube. I listened to my favorite booktubers who talked about their favorite books and were excited and happy, and Gabby Reads and Peace Love Books and all of these other booktubers who talk about their favorite books and give wrap-ups and talk about their favorite things with books. And I just binged listened to every single one of my favorite booktuber. In fact, Gabby Reads, I think I listened to every single one of her stuff back to back because her voice was soothing and she was so charismatic and funny and friendly and had such a deep love for books, and it just showed. And so if I couldn't read my own books, if I couldn't get into the stories, at least I could envision it from other people, and that made me happy. And so I decided to start a BookTube channel myself, because if I could help one person like they helped me, then, you know, that's all I could ever ask for. I finally started to pick up a book sometime in the very beginning of April, right after my dad passed. I decided it was time to go ahead and start getting into reading again, and I have since read almost 150 books in the last 9 months or so. So I'm really proud of myself, but I went through the hardest thing I ever thought I could possibly go through. Like, I literally had no family left. It's just my mom and me. And when she goes, because she's older, you know, my parents had me. My mom was 36 and my dad was 42 when they had me. And so, you know, now that I'm 30, my parents are, or my mom is older, and it's a scary thought of not having any family at all. Anyway, so my point is that I, as shy and as awkward and quirky and not really having that many close friends, and definitely not having any family, BookTube became something special for me. It was something that I could relate to and understand, and I really appreciated those people who put their love of books out there in the world and wanted other people to relate to them and talk with them. So that's my story. I've gone through hell and back in this last year, and I'm strong and I'm resilient and I'm gonna be okay. But I want to talk about books. I want to be happy and to share my love with books with others, so that maybe 3 or 4 years from now, somebody will come along and be going through a really rough time in their life, and they'll be able to get recommendations from me and talk to me if they need to. Just so you know, I am always here to talk to if anybody needs it. I've gone through some really rough stuff in my life, so I know what it's like to be alone, and I don't want anybody else to feel as sad and alone as I have. Anyway, sorry for the sad video. I'm going to get off here, but I just wanted you to know that I am here if you need me, if you want to talk about books, if you want to talk about anything at all. You message me, okay?